lucky. 12 seasons in the NFL, 10 of those in Minnesota, where he became the franchise's all-time leader in touchdown receptions by a tight end, two-time Pro Bowler, three-time Walter Payton end of the year, which is more important than anything. Kyle Rudolph, how are you? Happy Monday.
I'm doing great. Kay, how are you?
I'm so good. Great to see you. Let's talk a little football. Listen, last time you were on the show, it was right after you decided to retire from the NFL. So what was this past fall for you? Now that you weren't playing football, where are you at with your relationship with the game that you love?
It was interesting. Obviously, for me, this was the first time since I was 5 years old that I wasn't in a football training camp in August. So, I will say it was kind of nice seeing all the other guys. I went to Vikings camp, had some stuff to do with the Minnesota Vikings Foundation. And I remember Harrison Smith came over to me after practice and he was like, seeing you standing on the sidelines over there almost made me retire on the spot. He's like, it looks pretty good over there. But obviously Harrison's still doing it at a high level. He's back with the Vikings again for his 13th year. So I don't think retirement's in his future anytime. But it was definitely nice, for me to have played 12 years, 10 of which in Minnesota, and then getting the opportunity to experience two other organizations like the New York Giants and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So many great teammates, being a part of so many incredible different locker rooms. But it was nice. I had the opportunity to be on the outside looking in this fall.
You're saying it was nice.
It was.
You were still the thing is, you didn't go cold turkey. You didn't break up with the game and then go no contact and block the phone number. You were like, I'm gonna still see you every day. I'm gonna, be there on Sundays co-hosting an NFL show on Fox Radio during the season. Every Sunday night you did that. What do you miss most about playing?
That's what people always would ask. They would say, what did you miss? And my example was always whether you played a down of NFL football or 23 years of NFL football, there are things that when you don't have the game anymore, you will always miss. And that's being out on the field on Sundays, competing. When I was watching the guys at training camp, I was glad I was on the sideline and they were out there at practice. But then when I watched the guys play on Sunday Night Football in prime time, making plays, scoring touchdowns, winning games, that's what I missed. And being in those locker rooms on Monday after a big win, being around the guys, those are the things that I missed. And yeah, I didn't break up with the game cold turkey. I did have the radio show on Fox, so I was able to still be around the game enough. Also got to do some college games for NBC on Peacock. So it was a ton of fun for me just to, as I say, keep the game within an arm's reach away and be able to do fun stuff like that.
What do you like more? Because I think that's very cool that you did the whole college Peacock. You were calling live games. Do you like that more than you like analyzing?
I did enjoy the live football. The radio show was great. And it was almost, for us, we were on 30 minutes before Sunday Night Football started up until pretty much midway through the fourth quarter, 8 to 11 on the East Coast. So it's immediate reactions to the game. I watched Red Zone during the course of the day on Sunday, and it was that was how I kind of learned a little bit about each game to then speak about it that night. But I didn't have time to, I'm going to go back and watch the fourth quarter of that close Chiefs-Bills game to see, how did it kind of play out. I'm just on the radio and we're talking about it right away to see, those immediate reactions. And then the on-camera analysts in the booth, it's fun for me because, I'm basically the bridge between the game and the fans. And, they're able to see it through my eyes. So when I see a play happen, ultimately it's what did I see? Why did that happen? And then how do I portray that to, the fans watching on TV? So
what do you like better?
I enjoyed both of them. I like the TV stuff better.
Really?
I like the live football and because there's very little opinion in that. It's very factual. This is what happened, and then why did it happen?
I don't know. Tell that to Joe Buck and Aikman and company. I think that they get skewered for their non-objective calling of the plays all the time, right? You still have to. I don't know. There's always I don't know. I feel like it's got to be so hard in the heat of the moment to. I know you're just saying what happened, but there's a lot of arguing on Twitter, of course, of what's the right call or what really happened in any given play.
Yeah, and I think for me, my style being as close to the game as I still am right now, I want to be someone who just celebrates greatness. Like when I called Ohio State and Purdue, I had Marvin Harrison Jr. in that game. It's like anything that I could do to let fans know how good this guy truly is. That's what I want to do. That's the type of analyst that I want to be. There are times where the DB from Purdue could have the best coverage possible. And guess what? Marvin Harrison Jr. still makes the play. He still gets open. He still scores a touchdown. That has nothing to do with the skill level of the kid at Purdue. It has everything to do with the greatness of Marvin Harrison Jr. So for me, that's kind of the way I like to call games and the way that I like to portray it to the fans. Again, because I'm so close to it, I am just a year removed from the game. And, I want to be an advocate for the guys that are going out there and, playing at such a high level. Because at times we can take it for granted. You cannot appreciate how good someone is. So when I have that in my games, that's the kind of stuff I try to bring out.
I've met Cornelius. I've met a couple of the wide receiver prospects. I have not yet met the wonderful Marvin Harrison Jr. What do I need to know about his game?
He's just, as well-rounded, in my opinion, as a receiver prospect. I was in Minnesota when Justin Jefferson showed up, and he was the type of guy who, day one of training camp, running full speed, you see him and you go, wow, this kid's going to make a difference.
Kyle, you're putting big. That's a big name for young Marvin. I mean, he's a big name too, but
so he is. But he's different than Justin. But when you watch him, just the completeness of a wide receiver, he has that ability. But the coolest part for me was getting to talk to him in production meetings, having an offensive coordinator like Brian Hartline, who had played in the NFL for a long time, having a dad who's a Hall of Famer. It's like this kid has been groomed as a youngster to go be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And he has that ability. He has that potential. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does as a rookie in the NFL next year.
Me too. I don't watch college football until right about now, and then I just focus on the combine and pro day, and he opted out of both. So I don't have much. That's why I got to ask you the kind of questions. Yeah. You're shrugging it off. I am too.
Turn on the tape. He's incredible.
I would never, if I was him, I would never want to even just risk anything. I'm good. It's such a flex to be able to opt out of it that you don't see it outside of injury all of the time. Let's get to some of this. I got to show you this tweet. I don't know if well, first let's start with Tom Pelissero and what he reported. If we can cue that up. He said, no surprise here, despite the PA's objections. The NFL made clear it wanted what it calls the swivel hip drop tackle out of the game. Kyle, not a TikTok dance. It is a move, of course, to stop big guys. I know. And now it is. Expect more fines and flags as the league and coaches work to remove the technique. So here's J.J. Watt saying, just fast forward to the belts with flags on them. Wow. What do you think?
I just think, obviously we want to do everything that we possibly can to eliminate injuries from the game, particularly at the quarterback position. They want these guys that are making big money to be out there week in and week out. We see it from an offensive skill player perspective when you're going across the middle to catch a ball and you're deemed defenseless. They've taken that head-to-head hit out of the game. The hip swivel drop TikTok dance tackle that you described, obviously you see guys get hurt when that happens. You see the lower extremity, the high ankles, the knees, the Achilles, those kinds of things. I just think it's too hard. Like defenders have done a great job in, having a target now. They talk about that strike zone for DBs when they're coming in to make a play on a defenseless receiver. The hip drop tackle, I just think it's too hard in the heat of the moment to be like, oh no, I can't tackle that guy like this anymore. I think it's too hard to officiate. I think it's going to be one of those things like the year we had the pass interference being reviewed. I remember we were playing a game in Green Bay that year. We scored a touchdown to Dalvin, and then all of a sudden it was a scoring play, so it was reviewed, and then they said Diggs had offensive pass interference, and he had absolutely nothing to do with the play. So to me, this like hip drop tackle seems like it's not black and white. There's this like fine area, and how do you officiate it? How do you fine it? So I think that's the biggest problem. Obviously, I understand why the NFL wants that tackle to be eliminated. And quite honestly, it's more just about, how about we go back to coaching fundamentals of tackling? Let's emphasize that as opposed to, trying to find guys and eliminate a certain tackle because it's not safe. So I just think it's going to be really hard to police.
I think you should make sure when we get you this clip and that you send it to whatever, whether it's live action, whether it's because you just had such a darn good explanation of all of this, and it's live and it's on the spot, and this is in like breaking news right now, and you really addressed every part of it. And I'm like thinking of follows, and I'm like, I have no follow question for you. It's amazing. The only thing, I had not heard of the hip drop tackle until this year. Like they just randomly decided to name it that. Had you ever heard of this before this year?
Yeah, and again, I think it's something that you see. It's more of like, I haven't seen it as like hip drop tackle, but you know that
what it
that
is.
hit, you know the exact, and that, again, I just think it's going to be so hard to,
police.
like, how are you going to enforce it? Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know, stay off Twitter.
The defensive guys, I'm glad I was on offense. They have it hard enough as it is. Obviously a lot of the rules are designed for us to score points. That's what fans want to see. You see all these quarterbacks, receivers, now the tight ends. Love seeing the tight ends making a bunch of money. They want those guys on the field. So they're going to do everything they can.
I love the compassion, the empathy you have for the defensive players. They have it so hard. We had it better as is. That's incredible. Speaking of money and seeing tight ends get money, how about quarterbacks getting money? You got, Kirk Cousins does it better than everybody. I would love to know what you thought when you heard the Vikings' decision to sort of part ways with him. Let's start there.
I said it on my radio show throughout the course of the year that if Kirk was ultimately going to take a market value deal, which he did in Atlanta, there was no way with the Vikings roster and their cap situation. I think between him and Danielle Hunter, they're almost $50 million against the cap this year, and neither one of them are on the Vikings roster. So they're kind of in that the salary cap jail, if you would. There's a lot of other needs on that roster, and I knew ultimately, if it was up to Kirk and he wanted to stay in Minnesota, it was going to have to be under market value. And certainly he got market value in going to Atlanta.
Sam Darnold is there, of course. I got a feeling they're not done, though. Lots of quarterbacks are interesting. You got your Drake Mays, your J.J. McCarthy's. Who would be the best fit for this offense?
It's interesting because when I think about Kevin O'Connell and his offense and the way he operated, you think about his last two quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford and Kirk Cousins. Lots of great quarterback prospects in this draft. A rookie quarterback is not going to come in and be able to operate the offense the way in which Kevin O'Connell has operated his offense the last 3 years. Talking to guys in Minnesota, there's so much put on the quarterback. The game plans are massive. The ability to get to plays. When you have a rookie, you can't do that. There's no way that you can have that volume on a rookie to go out there and play that position. Now, with that being said, there are a lot of talented rookies. The Vikings have 2 first-round picks. To me, it's just a matter of, what do they have to get up? I think they're at 11. Do you have to get in the top 6 to get your guy? Is it one of the things that you sit around on day one, you see how the top 10 kind of sorts itself out? Maybe you don't have to jump up into the top 4 or 6 to get a guy that you say, hey, look, he's worth it to us. We're going to move up. We're going to take him. But I think, you look at this draft and, is there guys that you see potential in? You have Sam there. I think they paid him about $10 million to come in. Sam could be your quarterback for this year. And maybe you see a guy that, hey, we can add 2 quality first-round picks to a roster, and then, we'll see if there's maybe a mid-round quarterback that we like, that we want to develop.
This is the best news. what you're saying, if I'm a Vikings fan, I'm like, are you telling? And by the way, Sam Darnold, he's an NFL quarterback who, by the way, is going to pick it up from the Shanahan connection, all of that too. He knows that offense, he knows the language. For whoever it is, whether it's Drake May, we know, like, it's very cute that, Josh McCown, the quarterback coach, was like his assistant coach in high school. That's a cute little, that's a cute little storyline. I like that. Whether it's J.J. McCarthy, like he picked up steam after his pro day, whatever it is, you're telling me that a rookie quarterback can go down and just sit his butt on the bench in the quarterback room, take notes. That's the dream if you're a rebuilding Vikings team.
It is, and I think, Kwesi ultimately has a decision to make, and this is a huge draft for him. It's his third draft. There are potential franchise quarterbacks that he will have to move up to get. So how far up does he have to get? How much does he have to give up? He's kind of mortgaging their future to go up and get a guy. And if it's Drake, like you said, he's got the relationship with Josh being his high school assistant.
Right.
But also at the same time, I just talked about Kevin's offense and veteran quarterbacks. Sam's been in the Shanahan system. Sam would be a guy who would be able to handle that type of volume at the quarterback position. So, I see, after watching the combine, a guy like Joe Milton from Tennessee. You have just super freak potential, athleticism. You're not going to have to mortgage your future to get a guy like that. And ultimately,
hold on. They're accumulating picks for a reason. They're taking
or they could get 2 first-round picks that are going to help your team right away. You get a guy at 11 and a guy at 23. Well, I already told you that they're in salary cap jail. They owe $50 million to the cap or something like that between Daniil and Kirk, and they're not on the roster. So you need good players right now who can come in, and trading your 2 first-round picks to ultimately take a quarterback who might not play right away, I don't think that's the answer.
So you're talking Joe Milton.
That's an example.
No, that's a very specific example, Kyle.
It's a guy that you watch and you're like, holy cow, like this kid could be one of those mid-round picks who all of a sudden we're talking about, Russell Wilson 3 to 4 years down the road, where guess what? When you have a 3rd round pick as your starting quarterback, look at the San Francisco 49ers roster. It's built around a rookie deal quarterback, and they have talent everywhere. So we'll see.
I think we have Joe Milton scheduled to come on our show. I can't wait to cut this off and play it back for him and see what he has. Like, would you enjoy throwing to Justin Jefferson at some point? Would that be interesting to you?
TJ Hawkinson.
There's a lot being made about Justin Jefferson and like the position he's in. Obviously, the best wide receiver, dealt with an injury. He's got this, this thing that he has not signed. You obviously want to know who your quarterback's going to be. You're saying Sam Darnold. Is that enough? Like, Justin Jefferson. Is he going to be okay with that, or is he going to be like, get me out of here? I want to win a Super Bowl and play with a better quarterback than even Sam Darnold?
For me personally, I think it's more so the contract situation as opposed to the quarterback situation. Ultimately, Minnesota is going to put a quarterback, whether it's Sam or a 1st-round pick or a 3rd-round pick, we don't know. Ultimately, they're going to put a quarterback out there, and guess what his job is? To get Justin Jefferson the ball 14, 15 times a game. He's going to know that. Justin's going to know that. And no one does a better job at moving receivers around like Kevin does. Justin lines up all over the field. It doesn't matter. I could play quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings and get Justin Jefferson the ball. You have to get him the ball. I think it's more so he knows what he's worth. He knows what he's wants, and he's not going to take less. And I'll give you this too. The way things have changed since when I came into the league and seeing, guys really get paid for the first time. When I was in Minnesota, we paid like 5 or 6 draft picks in a row a year early. And you think about it as players, it's an opportunity for us to get that second contract a year early.
Right.
They're kind of hedging the bet. They're being our insurance policy for us if we were to get hurt or not play as well. They're taking that off the table. Justin's a guy, you can't turn on the TV and not see a commercial of Justin Jefferson. Justin doesn't need to sign the second contract right now. Justin's just crushing it off the field. Justin's pockets are very full. He is totally fine to wait and say, look, either make me the highest paid wide receiver in football, or I'll just wait until I get to the open market, or until someone ultimately comes in and says, hey, look, we'll give you 2 first-round picks. We want Justin Jefferson, and we're making him the highest paid receiver in football. So I think it's more of a contract issue, not a quarterback issue.
He wants to get paid. I understand what you're saying. He wants to get paid. That's what he cares about. Understood. But you don't want your numbers to go down before you hit the open market. It's an interesting situation. But if
his numbers are not going down.
The open market, I think it's going to break records. It's going to, I mean, of course it will. He should hit the open market. That would just shatter records, and it's what I would like to see. I want to ask you one question in our YouTube break, guys. Stick around. We're going to take a short break. We also have Trevin Wallace coming on. We're going to tell you one thing about Darius Robinson from my alma mater, Mizzou, who I don't even think made the NCAA tourney. Kentucky is out. Trevin Wallace is in. We'll be right back, but I'm going to ask Kyle a question here. Because, Kyle, you played with, you're so amazing. Thank you so much for answering all my crazy questions. You played with Daniel Jones for 1 year. His last season, I talked to him every week pretty much, cut short, multiple injuries, tough player, everybody says so. You said that you enjoyed the time you spent with Daniel. Given that, how do you see this upcoming season playing out?
How much time do we have?
Couple minutes.
I love DJ. I think he's super talented. I think he has the ability to be, I think I said this last time we were together before the season, like he has the ability to be a Josh Allen type quarterback. He has the athletic ability to run the football. He can make every throw. He doesn't have that quite of a strong arm, but he has an adequately strong arm to make every throw. Can we get the guy a number 1 wide receiver, please? Like, let's quit messing around. I give the Giants credit. They've tried to bolster the offensive line. They've invested first-round picks.
Fair.
They've brought free agents in. They've tried to address the offensive line. It hasn't worked as well as they would have hoped, but they put the effort there. Can we get the guy a number 1 wide receiver, please? How can you judge someone who's played in the NFL for now 5 years and he's never had a number 1 wide receiver? Like, what quarterback goes 5 years without being given a number 1 wide receiver?
So you would take that 6th overall, keep Daniel Jones, and say, hey, Malik Neighbors, hey, Marvin
100%.
Harrison. Really?
Absolutely. Go get a guy that
why?
If
All
Marvin
of New York
was there
is like,
6,
we don't want Daniel Jones. Give me the why. Why do we want Daniel Jones?
Yeah, but think about Eli in his 15, 16 years there. It was like, Eli was never good enough, but then ultimately he won 2 Super Bowls and won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. But it was always like Eli wasn't good enough. Eli wasn't good enough. I just think it's not fair to judge him until, John Mara said it before last season. We've done everything to screw this kid up. It's like, okay, let's stop doing everything to screw him up and maybe go get a game-changing wide receiver for him.
He needs a Plaxico. He needs himself a Victor Cruz even, just a nice slot guy he can throw to a million times. I love talking to you. I love the Brian Hartline reference. I have not thought about Brian Hartline since he was on my fantasy team like 10 years ago. You're amazing, Kyle. Appreciate you. Good luck with whatever you do. I mean, it must be nice to have embarrassment of riches at choices of what to do in this media industry. You crushed it your first season. Can't wait to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kay. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.